Hello everyone, my name is Ashlyn Cox and I am the Director of Financial Aid at Northwest State Community College. In this presentation, we are going to cover a lot of helpful information. We will talk about what financial aid is, how the FAFSA works, understanding your student aid index, and all sources of aid available. Our goal is to give you tools and knowledge you need to feel confident as you move forward in the financial aid process. What is financial aid? Financial aid is money that's provided to students and their families to help cover the cost of college. It can come from several sources, like federal government, the state, your college, or even private organizations. When we talk about college cost, it's not just tuition and fees. We are also talking about things like room and board, books and supplies, transportation expenses like gas, and even personal expenses. All of those are part of the total cost of attendance, and financial aid can help cover any or all of those areas depending on your eligibility. The goal is to make college more affordable and accessible for everyone, regardless of your financial situation. What is cost of attendance? The cost of attendance, or COA, is an estimate of the total cost of going to college for one academic year. It includes more than just tuition. It's the full picture of what a student might spend while attending school. Colleges include things like this: tuition and fees, the cost to cover your classes, room and board, whether you live on campus, off campus, or at home, books and supplies such as textbooks, course materials, a laptop if needed, transportation expenses like gas, bus, parking passes, personal or miscellaneous expenses like laundry, toiletries, or food. Every school is required to calculate this for their students, and it can vary depending on things like your housing situation or whether you attend full-time or part-time. The cost of attendance is important because it's used to figure out how much financial aid you can receive. We will now begin to discuss the FAFSA form. FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. It's the form students and families need to fill out every year to apply for financial aid for college. By completing the FAFSA, students can be considered for federal aid like grants, work study, and student loans, State of Ohio financial aid programs, and in many cases, scholarships and grants directly from the college itself. A very important reminder: make sure you are using the official website. The FAFSA is always free to complete. There are some scam websites out there that will charge a fee to submit. Please do not fall for them. The new FAFSA becomes available every year on October 1st, and it's best to complete as early as possible to maximize your aid. Who is eligible for federal aid? To be eligible for federal financial aid, students need to meet several basic requirements. These include being a U.S. citizen or an eligible non-citizen, like a permanent resident, having a valid Social Security number, having a high school diploma, GED, or an approved homeschool equivalent, being enrolled or accepted for enrollment in an eligible degree or certificate program, maintaining satisfactory academic progress once you are in school, not being in default on a federal student loan or owing a refund on a federal grant, and for male students, being registered with Selective Service if required. Creating a federal student aid ID. Before you can even start the FAFSA, both the student and at least one parent or any other required contributor must each create their own FSA ID. The FSA ID is your account username and password for federal student aid systems. It acts as your legal electronic signature and is required to access and submit the FAFSA. If you do not have one yet, you will go to studentaid.gov and click Create an Account at the top right. When creating an FSA ID, you will need your Social Security number, a mobile number, and a personal email. Each person needs their own. Do not use your school email because you may lose access after graduation. If a contributor does not have a Social Security number, they will still go through a separate identity verification process to participate. A few important tips. Phone numbers, emails, and Social Security numbers can be tied to only one FSA ID. No sharing. Parents should each create their own FSA ID even if they've done the FAFSA for another child. Students and contributors should keep their FSA login info safe, but never share it with others, even family members. And one last thing, create your FSA ID at least 3 days before starting the FAFSA, because it takes some time to verify your identity. Multi-factor authentication. When you create your FSA ID, you will also be required to set up something called multi-factor authentication, or MFA. This is an extra layer of security to help protect your account. After you enter your username and password, you will also need to verify it's really you by entering a one-time code. You can choose how to get this code, through text message, email, or using an authenticator app on your phone. Once your FSA ID is created, you will also get a one-time backup code. This is really important. If you ever lose access to your phone or email, this code lets you into your account. Write that backup code down and keep it somewhere safe. Once you use it, it expires and you will need to re-enable MFA in your account settings. If you get locked out and can't access your MFA or backup code, don't worry. You can call Federal Student Aid and they will help get you back in. Filling out the FAFSA online. When you are ready to fill out the FAFSA, you will go to studentaid.gov and log in using your FSA ID. This account is your personal, legal identity in the Federal Student Aid system. It's like your digital signature, so you should never share it, not with your parents or anyone else helping you. Letting someone else access it is basically the same as having someone sign your legal documents on your behalf. Also remember, your email and phone number can only be linked to one account. That means students and contributors, like parents and/or spouses, need to have their own contact info. A key part of the FAFSA now is consent and approval. Both students and all required contributors must give permission for their federal tax information to be transferred directly from the IRS. Even if a contributor did not file a U.S. tax return, they still have to log in and give consent. It's required for the FAFSA form to be processed, and without it, the FAFSA will be rejected. Determining dependency status. When filling out the FAFSA, one of the first things the form will determine is whether you are considered a dependent or independent student for federal financial aid purposes. If you are dependent, you will need to include your parents' information on the FAFSA. If you are independent, you won't need parent information. Instead, it will be just you, or if you are married, your spouse's information. There are several ways a student may be considered independent. You will be considered independent if you meet one of the categories listed. Age 24 as of January 1st, a graduate student, married, a veteran or active duty, if you have children or other dependents, orphan, ward of the court, or foster care at age 13 or older, emancipation or legal guardianship documentation, homeless or at risk of being homeless. When you get to the Student Personal Circumstances section of the FAFSA, you will check off any of these that apply. If none apply, you will mark none of these apply. If you answer yes to being homeless or at risk of being homeless, you will be asked who made that determination, like a high school liaison, a shelter director, or a college financial aid administrator. If you selected none of these apply, the form will ask if there are any unusual circumstances that prevent you from contacting your parents. And just to clarify, dependency status is not based on whether your parents claim you on their taxes. If you live at home or if they help you financially, it's based on federal guidelines. Who are contributors on the FAFSA? If you are a dependent student, you will need to provide parental information on your FAFSA. In most cases, at least one of your parents will be listed as a contributor. A contributor is anyone who needs to provide their information on the FAFSA form, sign it, and give consent for federal tax data to be transferred directly from the IRS. All contributors must have their own studentaid.gov account. This is required for them to access their part of the FAFSA and complete any necessary sections. So when you are working on the FAFSA, be sure to get your contributors set up with their own account early. This can save a lot of time later. Parent of record on the FAFSA. When filling out the FAFSA, you'll need to report information about the parent of record, the parent who is responsible for providing the most financial support in the year before you complete the FAFSA. Let's break this down a little bit. If both biological or adoptive parents are living together, even if they are not married, you report information for both parents. If your biological parents are divorced or remarried, you should provide information for the parent who provided the most financial support in the 12 months prior to filling out the FAFSA, even if that parent does not live with you. If it's equal support for both parents, then report the parents with the greater income and assets. And a very important point, if your parent is remarried, you will also need to report the information of the step-parent, your parent's spouse, since they are considered part of the household for financial aid purposes. It is important to remember that the FAFSA is looking for parents who provide the most financial support, not necessarily the parent you live with. This can be tricky, but if you follow the guidelines, you'll be sure to provide the correct information. Here is an overview of contributors. The FAFSA is set up so that each contributor, whether that's the student, one or both parents, or a step-parent, can complete only the section that applies to them. This makes the process easier for everyone and ensures that only relevant information is shared. Each contributor is required to provide consent for the retrieval and disclosure of their federal tax information. This is a necessary step for the IRS data to be automatically transferred into the FAFSA. Once all contributors have completed their section, they must sign their part of the FAFSA. If any section is incomplete or not signed, the application will not be processed and the student aid index will not be calculated. So why is this important? Because without a completed FAFSA, the student will not be eligible for federal, state, and some institutional aid. So it's critical that every contributor fills out their part. Record of your assets. The FAFSA form will ask you and your contributors questions about your assets and investments, so make sure to have those records on hand. This includes the current balance of your cash, checking, and savings accounts, the current net worth of your business and or investment farms, and the current net worth of your investments. Your cash, checking, and savings account balances are considered assets, but are not investments. Use the chart above to understand what is considered and isn't considered an investment. Your FAFSA is submitted, now what? After your FAFSA form is processed, you'll receive an email with your FAFSA submission summary. The FAFSA submission summary will help you understand your next steps as you prepare to receive financial aid offer letters from schools. It is important to review your FAFSA submission summary closely because you could be selected for verification of your age eligibility or make corrections to your form. After your FAFSA form is submitted successfully, the confirmation page will list your estimated federal Pell Grant eligibility and your estimated student aid index. Schools will use your SAI to calculate the amount of aid that you may be eligible for. What is the Student Aid Index, or SAI? The Student Aid Index, or SAI, is a new metric that replaces the Expected Family Contribution, or EFC, starting with the 24-25 FAFSA. It is an important number that determines how much federal financial aid you are eligible for. And here's how it works. The SAI is calculated based on the information you provided in your FAFSA, such as your family's income, assets, household size, and number of people in your family attending college. The lower your SAI, the more financial aid you may be eligible for. A higher SAI generally means less need-based financial aid, but you could still be eligible for other types of aid. Your SAI is used by schools to determine what types of federal aid, like federal Pell Grant, federal work study, and federal loans, you might qualify for. It can also be used by state and institutional aid programs to assess your eligibility for other types of financial assistance. So the SAI essentially helps schools determine how much aid you can receive based on your financial situation. What are some special circumstance situations? We understand that sometimes your income reported on the FAFSA doesn't reflect fully what your current financial situation is. Please keep in mind that when completing the FAFSA form, it is pulling information from prior year. If you've experienced any special financial circumstances, there's a process to address that. Examples of special circumstances include a loss of employment or pay cuts, tuition expenses for elementary or secondary school, high or unexpected medical expenses, and other major changes in your family's financial situation. If this applies to you or someone listed as a contributor on your FAFSA, you should still complete the FAFSA as instructed using the required income information. Once that's done, contact the financial aid office at the college where you plan on attending and request an aid adjustment or professional judgment. This allows the school to review your situation and possibly adjust your FAFSA to reflect these changes. Financial aid office overview. The financial aid office at your college plays a central role in reviewing and determining the aid you are eligible for. Once you submit the FAFSA, there are several things the financial aid office will do before awarding your financial aid package. Sometimes the financial aid office may need more information to verify your financial situation. This might include verification income, family size, identity and statements of educational purpose, such as you may need to prove your identity and provide a statement confirming that you intend to enroll and attend college, documentation of high school completion. Schools will ask for proof that you've graduated from high school and/or completed an equivalent program such as a GED. Once the financial aid office has everything it needs, you'll receive a financial aid offer. This will typically be sent to you by either email or mail. It will include details about the amount of aid you are awarded by each program, such as federal grants, loans, and work-study opportunities, information on how and when aid is dispersed to your school account, the terms and conditions of your aid offer, including any requirements you may need to maintain in order to keep receiving financial aid. Be sure to carefully review the aid package and reach out to the financial aid office if you have any questions or need clarification. What is financial need? Now that you've submitted your FAFSA and double-checked your information, you might be wondering how the amount of financial aid you'll be offered is determined. Here's how the process works. The colleges or career schools you listed on your FAFSA will use a combination of information to figure out how much financial aid you qualify for. If you meet the basic eligibility criteria for federal student aid, the financial aid office at your school will assess your student aid index, your year in school, your enrollment status, and the cost of attendance at your school. Categories of financial aid. Financial aid is generally divided into two main categories: need-based aid and non-need-based aid. Need-based aid is financial assistance awarded to students who demonstrate financial need and meet other eligibility requirements. Examples of need-based aid: federal Pell Grant, federal Supplemental Opportunity Grant, federal Work Study, federal Direct Subloan, and scholarships. Some examples of non-need-based aid are the federal Direct Unsubloan, federal Direct Plus Loan, the Teach Grant, and scholarships. What are grants? A grant is a form of financial aid that does not have to be repaid unless certain conditions apply. For example, if you withdraw from school and owe a refund, or if you receive a Teach Grant and fail to complete the service obligation, you may have to repay the amount. There are several types of federal grants available, including federal Pell Grant, federal Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grants, and Teach Grants. These grants are designed to assist students in need, but each one has specific eligibility requirements, so it's important to review each one carefully to determine which grant you qualify for. Federal Work-Study Jobs. The Federal Work-Study Program allows you to earn money to pay for school by working part-time. You'll earn at least the current federal minimum wage. However, you may earn more depending on the type of work you do and the skills required for that position. Your total work-study award depends on when you apply, your level of financial need, and your school's funding level. Scholarships. Scholarships are a gift, meaning they don't have to be repaid, which makes them an excellent form of financial aid. There are thousands of scholarships available, offered by a variety of sources such as schools, employers, private companies, nonprofits, communities, religious groups, and professional or social organizations. You can learn more about scholarship opportunities through a variety of sources such as contacting the financial aid office at your school or checking your local library or reputable websites. But be careful when searching for scholarships. Make sure the scholarship information and offers you come across are legitimate. And remember, you should never have to pay to find scholarships or any other form of financial aid. Scholarships are an important source of funding, and applying for as many as you can increases your chances of receiving aid. Loans. Federal student loans are an investment in your future. You should not be afraid to take out student loans, but you should be smart about it. Federal student loans offer many benefits compared to other options you may consider. The interest rate of federal loans is fixed and usually lower than a private loan and much lower than a credit card. You do not need a credit check or a cosigner to get most federal loans. You don't have to begin repayment on your student loans until after you leave college or drop below half-time. If you demonstrate financial need, the government pays the interest on some loan types while you are in school or during some periods after school. Federal student loans offer flexible repayment plans and options to postpone your loan payment if you are having trouble making the payment. There are 3 types of loan. There is a direct subsidized loan, direct unsub loan, and direct plus loan. Eligible undergraduate students with demonstrated financial need can receive a subsidized loan. Eligible undergrad and graduate professional students are eligible for unsub loan, and direct plus loan is parent borrowing money for the student. State aid. The state of Ohio invests significant resources in a wide array of financial aid programs so that immediate cost savings are available to students at Ohio public institutions. State financial aid is awarded based on a number of factors including area of study such as teaching, science, engineer, technology, math, and medicine, academic merit, financial need, military status, and much more. Please learn more by visiting the websites listed below. Here at Northwest State Community College, we offer a Presidential and Honors Scholarship. The Presidential Scholarship is full tuition, applied after other tuition scholarships. You do have to have a certain high school GPA. You have to maintain a 3.5 GPA, 20 hours of community service each year, and is renewable for up to 3 years. The Honors Scholarship is half tuition. A certain high school GPA and ACT score is required. Maintain a 3.25 GPA, 10 hours of community service each year, and is also renewable for 3 years. Advice for a successful college experience. First, apply for financial aid early. It's a process, not just a one-day task. Keep track of due dates and deadlines. Check your college email and school portals regularly. Go to class, ask for help, and use study resources like a tutoring center and study groups. Don't be afraid to ask for help. College staff wants you to succeed. Thank you for listening to the FAFSA presentation of the 25-26 FAFSA. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to the email listed below, finaid@northweststate.edu, or give us a call at 419-267-1333. Thank you.